Good evening and welcome to our question and answer session about sixth form. We are really pleased to be able to host this event. Obviously it's not quite the same as being able to meet you in person. This evening the purpose of this meeting is that we are going to be able to answer the questions, so thank you for sending us the questions that you have. And in a moment I'm going to hand over to Richard Davies, the head of sixth form, who is going to manage the questions. And alongside Mr. Davies, head of sixth form, is Mr. David Corran, deputy head, and Ms. Zeba Clark. Between us, we hope that we have got a wealth of knowledge to help you in the decisions that you are going to be making. And we understand that these continue to be extraordinary circumstances. And we also realise that there's probably an amount of unsettlement caused by the rather strange events of the exam board activities this summer. And we hope that as we talk through the things this evening, that we will be able to dispel some of the concerns that there might be as we look ahead to 2 years' time when your sons and daughters will be taking their exams. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Davies and we're going to answer your questions.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the questions that have already been submitted. We're going to endeavour to get through as many of those as we can in the next half hour or so, but we will reply to all of them. And indeed, if any other questions subsequently emerge, please feel free to get in touch with me, and I'm happy to meet if you have any questions. Following on from what the head said, we'll just touch on the exam results this summer in a moment. But I know from the questions that have come in at the moment, the most pressing question seems to be with regards to actually the timing for making decisions with regards to what subjects you'd be interested in studying in the sixth form. So just with regards to that question, I'd just like to hand over to Mrs. Clark, our academic deputy head, to talk a little bit about the timescales involved for making decisions with regards to subject choices.
So immediately and over the next few weeks, my secretary, Mrs. Weeble, will be sending out a form, and it will be available on Firefly for you to fill in. So, and it's really more an information tool for us to work out and make sure that we are offering absolutely the right subjects for all of our students. So the form essentially allows you to put down whether you wish to stay with us for sixth form. It allows you to say you're not sure whether you're going to stay, whether you're investigating other opportunities, whether you prefer IB or A-level, which subjects you're really interested in, and for me, most importantly, which subjects we don't offer which you would be interested in. And for example, I know already that we have students in the fifth form very interested in psychology. We are exploring the option of offering that either at IB or A-level, or possibly, if there is serious demand for that, both. There are other subjects that have been offered in the past that have been taken off, for example, the A-level, because what we're doing is pushing business towards the IB and economics towards A-level students. And there are various reasons for that, and if you've had a chance to watch the clip which I created for this particular event, you'll understand a little bit more about those choices. At this point, we're really looking for information, and the final choice does not have to be made until January, after mock exams have been completed. We have a fifth form parents' evening at that stage, and that's when we ask students and parents to have those final decisions to really sit down and reflect on which subjects they are most interested in and which subjects are their strengths and which course will suit them best. So basically during this period, for the rest of this term, we have colleagues such as Mr. Davis, Mrs. Davis in the Careers and Higher Education Department, who are going to be engaging with the fifth form, myself as well. We'll be talking to the fifth formers about their options, about their interests, about their career aspirations. They'll be taking the future careers tests. They'll be having careers interviews with Mrs. Davis. They'll have access to Unifrog, which is a platform which allows us to look at university options and offers online courses. So it's a real opportunity for the next few months for students to explore interests, aptitudes, aspirations, and ambitions. I hope that clears up. So the end of January is really the cut-off date. We will be sending out reminders to complete the Firefly form, though, because that helps us with our planning.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Clark. The next theme then regards the current kind of fragile situation with regards to Corona. And looking back, the exam results for A-level pupils and IB pupils this year and our reflections on those, but also what we've learned from that looking ahead to possible closes this year. So with regards to A-level, it was fairly straightforward because the teacher predicted grades we awarded were carried through and awarded. With the IB, it was a bit more complicated, but the IB did make some revisions, and broadly, most pupils have ended up at the university that they were hoping to go to as well. So most of our pupils have got into excellent universities, and we'll talk about that a bit in a moment. As far as what we've learned from it, one of the key things is the transition to online learning. So in the event of possible shutdown of the school or year group, we've now got the systems in place with technology to really continue at pretty much the same pace. So this year with our upper six, we've had to tweak things around a little bit in terms of the scheme of work to make sure we're on track. But generally, as a school, we've kind of learnt how to use technology more effectively to deliver the content. So I think there has been quite a lot of sort of institutional learning that has gone from that experience. I don't know whether there's anything else anyone would like to add. Coming on then, again, Mrs. Clark talked a little bit about the careers service. We have got Mrs. Davis, who provides independent careers advice and is able to support pupils, and that continues right through the sixth form. So pupils will be working with their tutor when it comes to university advice and guidance for professional apprenticeships, but Mrs. Davis is also on hand, and you are welcome to come in and have a session with her so that you can have these discussions and make decisions collectively. A few other points then coming through. Obviously in the sixth form there is a little bit more emphasis on independent learning, and there are study periods. Now there's a question about how study periods are used. Now to an extent that depends on which program you're doing. For a lot of our IB pupils, they have very few study periods because they have a really packed timetable. So A-level pupils, you have a little bit more freedom. Now, under normal circumstances, what happens is that all lower six pupils would be in the library during their free periods up until the half term, and then we review their academic progress, and those pupils who are on task and achieving their targets are allowed to have a little bit more freedom in how they spend those study periods, and A-level pupils will be able to use those periods. We would recommend, though, that if you're looking at A and A star grades, people should be doing about 5 hours a week for each subject on top of their lessons and timetabled homework. So the A-level course, there's a lot more onus on the pupils to use that time effectively. And we have a system of academic monitoring which we review constantly, but every half term we have data to look at that and sort of look at the pupils that are not using that time effectively and intervene. At the moment it's a little bit different because the library is closed for that purpose, but that is generally what we're working towards. We also have supervised prep in the evening under normal circumstances, and that's available for day pupils as well. So if your pupils your children want to stay from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock in the evening and work in the library, then that facility exists. And the final point on that was to do with the parity for day pupils. And that's in part the kind of rationale for the new upper six boarding house as well. So we'll have a dedicated study space where day pupils feel part of that community. So partly it's about building that sort of transition as they go into university, but also it's about improving the facilities for self-study during that time. Let me just have a look. We had a few other points just about data and current numbers. So at the moment we've got about 60 pupils in the lower six and 37 pupils in the upper six. And we are, at the moment, in terms of gender, we're about 36% female and 64% male. Some other questions coming through, and do feel free to send these in via email. We've got a live link here. Are you able to do a mixture of IB and A-level subjects? So, for example, maths and physics at A-level with French IB, because French isn't offered as an A-level subject. So, in principle, that's fine, and we normally have one or two people who are doing a hybrid course, but the restriction there is it depends on the timetabling blocks. And the great thing in terms of UCAS, if you're doing an IB high-level subject, and you get a 7 or a 6, that confers the same UCAS points as an A star or A for A-level. So there's no problems with applying to UCAS, and we normally do have one or two pupils doing that. And with regards to languages, we don't currently offer languages in the A-level cohort, but we are looking at the possibilities for offering different language provision, and I don't know whether that's anything we want to add to, or...
So we are looking at the possibility of offering MFL in A-level, but also we're looking at the Common European Framework style, the equivalence of English as a foreign language qualifications run by Spain, Germany, Italy and France. So things like the DELF, the DELI. These are globally recognized certificated courses with an exam in speaking, listening, reading and writing at the end. And they are accepted by universities, including Oxford and Cambridge, as evidence and competence in a language. And if you are reaching the top range of C1, C2 aptitude, which is near fluency in the Common European Framework, then you are eligible to apply for a language-related course in that language at any university in the UK.
Another one following up on the languages theme. Can my child do 3 A-levels and then Chinese A-level as well? So we do offer the provision to do 4 A-levels. It is also possible to do a native language A-level qualification in addition as well. So, for example, if you did a native language, then the teaching would be that would be self-taught with a tutor rather than being formally part of the course, if you wanted to do an A-level language qualification rather than something we offer within the IB programme of languages. The next question is on pathways beyond university. So, obviously, the majority of our people do go on to universities, but in terms of what other kind of pathways we look at and support, we often have people going to drama school or applying to conservatoires and music colleges, and we've got obviously support from Mrs. Slifka, who's experienced in processing applications to conservatoires, and Mrs. Shicksmith with regard to art colleges as well. And indeed, building on what I was saying earlier, Mrs. Davis is fantastic at providing and helping pupils identify opportunities for internships and professional apprenticeships. And one of the great assets that we have is the network from the school. So we've got the Old Wits network, which is the sort of alumni for the school, but also our historic ties with the City of London mean that we have lots of opportunities for pupils to well, again, under normal circumstances, go into the City of London and network and try and build connections as well. So there is opportunities to pursue apprenticeships and other avenues rather than just university as well. Fine. I'll just check if I've got any more email questions coming in. Okay, there's a couple that have come in here with regards to the minimum requirements for subjects. So the question here is maths, economics and design technology. So generally you should be able to find this on the subject pages, but for example maths, we would be looking at a 7 generally to access A-level maths as a kind of benchmark. So that would be for maths, and for economics and design, have a look on the individual subjects. It is not always necessary to have done the subject at a GCSE. So for certain subjects, it might be worth contacting the head of department if they've got an interest in a subject but haven't completed it before.
We certainly have people taking a range of subjects that they've not studied before, in particular things like art, DT, many of the humanities. Most of our students will not have studied business or economics before, so there is flexibility for that, and the departments welcome those inquiries. It's worth speaking to the head of department.
Yeah. And then I've got another question here with regards to the publication of the school's exam results. So we do have some results on the website, and obviously we are looking at the moment publishing, or the decision to publish the results from this year, which were on the basis of predicted grades. So we are still exploring that. The other thing, just to say, looking at the A-level results, is that generally we have quite a balanced cohort of IB versus A-level. In the upper six this year, unusually, we have a very high percentage of IB pupils. So the vast majority are IB pupils. So in terms of the A-level results at the end of this year, it will be a very small sample size as well, which is another consideration. I don't know whether you want to add anything to that.
No, I would like to ask another question, or
Yeah.
have the question answered, which is, would it be helpful to just explore why you might choose to do IB rather than A-level, thinking about breadth and depth?
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to ask that maybe Mr. Corran, in a moment after that, answers the question of why do we think that it is a good idea to keep the continuity going on up into sixth form? Because obviously there are, these are questions that people are asking.
So, if again, as I say, if you've watched my little segment, you will know that many people ask me which is better, A-level or IB, and my firm reply is neither. It depends on the student, and that's the fundamental. If you have a child who is absolutely certain of their trajectory, I really want to be a historian, I really want to be a scientist, and I really, in fact, want to be a biophysicist or whatever it is, and this is the course that I want to go to at university, then generally speaking, A-level will offer those students who are really hungry for greater immersion in their own particular passion, then A-level will suit them better. For most of us, though, I think we don't necessarily know, and also we may be changing our minds as we mature and as we develop as individuals. And for those students, it's absolutely worth looking at IB, because IB allows you a lot of flexibility and adaptability. You can play to your strengths, and it's important to be strategic in your IB choices. But that blend of 3 higher level subjects where you can follow your passions and 3 standard level subjects where you keep your options open and really show a university, for example, that you are capable of managing data and statistical probabilities and things like that, even though you are an arts person fundamentally, that is an asset to them. Universities look at both IB and A-level pretty much on a par nowadays. The IB has been around for 50 years, and the situation which I think did prevail up until perhaps even a couple of decades ago, that IB was unfamiliar to universities, that has long gone. And every university will present its offer for its at inquiry. You can ask, what do I need to get at A-level, what do I need to get at IB? It really depends on the student, it depends on the person, the individual studying, their approach to study, and we really take time to explore that and support our pupils to discover what kind of a person they are and what program will suit them best, what will bring out the best in them.
Yep, fantastic, thank you. I'd just like to add a couple of arguments for both there, a few caveats on the end. So the first one, I think one of the great strengths about the IB is that it does provide that flexibility. And I like to give the anecdote from one of our housemasters whose daughter was convinced that she wanted to be a vet. So she did the IB and she chose her higher levels in biology, chemistry, and another subject. And in the lower 6th summer holiday, she was doing what she'd been encouraged to do and get some work experience. And she went to vets, and she very quickly realised that she didn't want to be a vet. But because she was doing the IB, she still had her humanities, and she was then actually able to go on and apply to university to do international relations. Now, it would have been harder to apply to international relations if she'd had 3 A-level sciences. So the flexibility is a great advantage of the IB programme. On the flip side, there are a couple of special cases which there is a very strong argument for doing A-levels, namely engineering and economics at Russell Group universities. If you want to do engineering or economics at Russell Group universities, go and have a look at the entry requirements. They will normally say that they want a 6 or a 7 in higher level maths. The equivalent for A-level is an A grade. Now, as a maths teacher, I would say it's much harder to get a 7 in higher level IB maths than it is A-level maths. So if you are looking at engineering or pure economics at a Russell Group university, you either need to be able to get to be doing high level maths and be looking at a 6 or a 7, or the A-level pathway might be a better fit. So there's a couple of arguments on both sides as well. Mr. Corrin, do you want to?
In one extra point to that is that I was listening to some of that with my parents' hat on as well, and thinking back to a moment 10 minutes ago when someone said that there are relatively few free lessons in the IB programme. And in my experience, that consideration weighs quite heavily with pupils. But I would urge you as parents to try and disregard that as far as possible. It does even itself out over the long run, not least in the fact that the IB programme tends to end earlier in the summer term than the A-level programme does, in the summer term of the upper 6. So beware of that tendency in your child, if I may make so bold as to make a piece of advice, and think about the quality of the course itself rather than that. That was it from that point of view. Mrs. Wright, did you want me to talk about
I
continuity?
Think so. Yes, because I think one of the things we know our 5th form are trying to work out is whether it's a good idea to stay or whether actually it's a good idea to explore going elsewhere. And I think it would be good just to open up that discussion.
So I suppose what we've spoken about so far this evening is primarily the academic case for IB and A-level and a few academic questions of process as well. Part of my special remit is the pastoral, though, and I feel very strongly that trying to separate the two is not wise and probably impossible anyway, not least because, as we will all know from our own children, a happy child learns. A child who's unhappy will not be learning well either. So they are absolutely part and parcel of the same thing. So I'm going to talk partly from that pastoral perspective for the next minute or two. There are a number of factors that I think are in favour of continuity and staying, and of course you would expect me to make that argument, I know. First of all, it's a question of leadership, and we're really proud of our prefects. I think at this school, more than any other I've come across, actually, our prefects are in the public eye, both internally in the school and also externally. And our heads of school and prefect are a very public face at ceremonial city events and get the chance to talk to people from a very wide range of backgrounds, present themselves, represent the school. And that's an extremely valuable skill to learn that they can do from their experience of going through the King Edward's, the years at King Edward's. Then perhaps the second point to make is that, pastorally speaking, your child's main point of contact for the years they've been at King Edward's will have been their housemaster or housemistress. And that question of detailed, long knowledge and experience of people, how to work with them, how to talk to them, know what might lie behind a chance remark, a casual remark in passing, you can only pick up after years working together and living together in a boarding school. And I use that term advisedly because I know many of your children will not be boarders, but nevertheless we are a boarding school and a day school. And I think we have some of that overarching wraparound care ethos that a boarding school has. Then as a final point, just to say that the sixth form experience is getting better as well. There will eventually be an upper sixth boarding house, and I'm really, really excited about that as a prospect of the culmination of years of your child's experience at the school, and the ability then to move from what I would call a vertical structure, where your child is with many other year groups in a house, to a situation at the top of the school where they are with their friends and their peer group at the top of the school, and I think they will really love that experience as well. Thank you.
Good. We haven't got any further questions, but as I say, do feel free to continue, and if you're watching this later, do continue to email any questions you have to options@kesw.org. And again, happy to Zoom and talk you through anything that you would like to know more, that you've seen from some of the videos, hopefully, that you've enjoyed from our head of department, or from Mrs. Clark's video with regards to which course to take. But certainly it's a very exciting place to be as we look ahead to some of the things on the horizon, and we very much hope that you will be staying with us for your sixth form. So just like to offer any other final comments? Otherwise,
no, well, I would only just say that we do recognise that these are big decisions, big choices, and actually this is not the end of the discussion or the dialogue, and therefore if there are more things that people want to talk about, if there are conversations around, you know, where you might be looking at in terms of alternative school or college arrangements, then do just come and talk about it, because actually we do want to, you know, sort of have an opportunity to talk about what is best for the individual child. So that is an open invitation. So thank you. Thank you.
thank you.